国做做。
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world, you are watching Now Media Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business coach. I'm here because I believe that iron sharpens iron. And when we share what's working in business and maybe what isn't, we're all able to learn and grow. As a result, our businesses flourish, and the ripple effect impacts not only ourselves and our family, our teams and their families, but also our communities and our world. I'm really excited to be in studio today with an amazing human being. Lourdes Gant is a very powerful female, and she was recently awarded one of the top most influential females in sustainable aquaculture. I'm really excited to introduce you to her. Welcome to the studio, Lourdes.
Thank you for having me today, Jen. I'm really excited about the conversation that we're going to have today.
Absolutely, me too. And so I want to dive right in and give everyone at home and who's listening and watching, what is sustainable aquaculture? What is aquaculture and how did you get involved in this?
So I started 15 years ago when I met my husband and business partner, who has been a commercial fisherman in the dive fisheries since 1988. He fell in love with the ocean, but was seeing the devastating impact that the fishermen were doing in the ocean's ecology, and so decided to farm the species that he was harvesting called the geoduck, which is a king clam.
And so talk to me a little bit about aquaculture in general, because a lot of people may not be very familiar with this. And I know that you guys have cracked the code on really sustainable farming in the ocean. So talk to me a little bit about what the industry is, what that looks like, and what you guys have done that has set yourself apart.
So we started originally harvesting gourmet foods from the sea, mostly for the sushi market. He was harvesting sea cucumbers, geoducks, Manila clams, sea urchins. And when he was seeing that the fishermen were not putting back the resource that they were taking out, he was being a clairvoyant, knowing that what the fishermen were doing was not sustainable to the ocean because there was no replenishment that was happening in the wild. And so when he saw that this was happening, he decided that the way to the future, if you know the adage, look at where the puck is going. He was seeing that the puck is going to the aquaculture side of things, which is ocean farming. And so decided that he is going to dedicate his life having to save the ocean by saving the species that he was harvesting. And I'm not sure yet if we've exactly cracked the code, but we've been into this now for quite some time. Like I mentioned, I joined 15 years ago, and the aquaculture industry is a 378 billion market size, and mollusk, which is the species that we're harvesting, is at 78 billion at that. And we are seeing that just recently, if you heard the word blue revolution, blue economy, everybody is now being interested of how to save the ocean. And so I think that talking about where the puck is going, we're early adapters.
Absolutely. And so a lot of times we talk on this show about revenue, about how do we set up the business strategy so that it gives us our short-term, our midterm, and our long-term revenue. And you have chosen to harvest something that takes 10 years in the growth phase. So talk to me a little bit about how you came about that strategy and the 10-year cycle to even know if you were successful with this. Like, how did you cultivate the patience? What did you do in order to make sure that you were able to set this business up for success? Because I know you've actually finally started to harvest and you're seeing the fruits of your labor, but talk about the long-term strategy that was in play, because a lot of times entrepreneurs, they're very short-term, quick money, and they don't see the long-term vision, but you very much have gone all in on the long game.
Thank you for asking that question. It's a very, very valid question, especially if you're looking for easy money. And the word sustainable to us is kind of forever, right? I think that's the first thing is if you have to define sustainability, what does that mean for you? For us, and in the Far East, coming originally from where I was, Japan has 300-year plans. I think most business owners forget that sometimes we have to look more than 10 years. And you mentioned the species that we're harvesting takes 10 years. But the short-term vision that we have originally is we had the fishing revenue when the fisheries were still very good in terms of supplying what the market wanted, but seeing clearly that in the digital decade that this is not going to be the case anymore. And so we decided that we were going to use our fishing revenue to support the aquaculture side of things. And so now that everybody's into ocean farming, we're now at a time where we think this is going to gain traction. We had other species that we were harvesting. We have oyster seed that we supply from our boutique hatchery here in Vancouver Island in Canada. So that was also supplying the short-term revenue for the company. We just started, as you mentioned, harvesting for the farmed gooey ducks, the shellfish. Last summer, we had our second harvest this is spring, and from here on, and we're going to be harvesting.
And my understanding is that you had a phenomenal rate of harvest, as in how many survived the farming process. And can you talk a little bit about what that looks like from a numbers standpoint? Because a lot of people, we understand numbers in business. And so when you're talking about aquaculture, what is considered a good harvest rate based off of what you've started with as opposed to what you're actually harvesting at the end of the day from a percentage standpoint?
So that's a very good point. So there are 3 pointers that any aquaculturist has to go through. Number 1 is to learn how to culture the product. Number 2 is how to be profitable from it. And then number 3 is how to be profitable without harming the ocean's ecology. And so very much so, the survival rate is very, very much a key number that we wanted to track, because our 2% to 3%, a change from a 2% to 3% survival in the animals can mean a 2 million to 3 million additional in the valuation of the company. So obviously when we started, we were just probably doing a trial and error. This was like 15 years ago, where we don't know what we're doing yet. We are finding what will work, what will not work. Maybe 5%, maybe even as low as 1% survival. And then as we get better, we're finding that we're increasing, obviously, our survival rate from 10% to 20%. And even now in our nursery system, we have numbers that can go as high as 90%.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And so what is the industry average right now? If you've got numbers in the 90% range, what is the average in the industry as you see it per current?
It really varies, because there's also different ways of raising the animals. For example, in the United States, they do mostly what's called intertidal, wherein they own the beachfront where they plant their animals. So their survival rate will be very different from the way that we do it here in Canada, which is subtidal, which is under the ocean, 20, 30 feet under. And so it will depend on where they are doing it, the geographic location, the salinity of the water, is the food sources good enough? So there are different variables in terms of how this will play out.
I love it. And so talk to me a little bit about the persistence that is required, because you are playing the long game. We already started and talked about this. And one of the key tenets of successful entrepreneurship is, of course, having that unique selling proposition. But how have you managed with persistence to continue to develop and improve upon your product, knowing that this is a long game strategy? Like, what is it that keeps you guys going when maybe some of the results are not what you wanted, and you needed to continue to push forward because, I mean, you're playing the long game. So talk to me a little bit about the persistence and how you're able to continue the grind, if you will, and showing up in the trial and error, because, you know, in business, we have a lot of failures and most people give up, and as a result, they fail in their business. But you guys have continued to improve and grow and grow and grow, and now you're finally seeing the fruits of your labor. So talk to me a little bit about what it was, or what that persistence looks like, and how do you get up every day, especially when you're in the trials and tribulations of business?
Very, very good question. I have in my head what I call my 3 pillars of sustainability, and that's leadership, partnership, and stewardship. Pun intended that they all ended up in ship, right? And so when I say leadership, my definition of that is doing the right thing, even though nobody's watching. And so at times when we have a lot of obstacles that we have to face through, we just have to remind ourselves, and a lot of inner work obviously is in this game, that, as we continue to be very, very true to our mandate, which is to create the most environmentally beneficial food production operation on land or sea anywhere in the world, then we're on the right track. We have to remind ourselves that sometimes when there will be days that are hard, that we have to remind ourselves this is our vision. So that's the first thing. Second is partnership. Obviously, nowadays with social media and technology, no business can thrive or survive for that matter if you don't have the right partners in place. You know this very well. And this is how we met, because we were in a group of people wherein partnerships is very much a key component in succeeding in business. And the third part, which is in alignment with sustainability, is stewardship. If we just have to see our business as a tool that we can serve the planet, the people, and the purpose, then we're on our way. So these are the three components that I call my three pillars of sustainability that I have to remind myself every day when I wake up, especially when times are tough.
And so let's talk about the partnership aspect of this, because this applies no matter what industry people are in, whether they're getting started in business, they've been around the block, they're scaling, or they're looking at an exit. So they've been around the block, they're scaling, or they're looking at an exit. So how do you find your right partners? Because I know you've just done a really, really large capital raise. You were fully funded. How did you find the right money partners? Let's start there. Like, what are you looking for in your partnerships as you move forward? Because you're a long game. So it's not like quick money in, quick money out that we're used to on the investor side. For those of you who are watching, we are both investors. Lourdes is a fellow investor with me. So it's a longer strategy for your financial partners. Talk to me a little bit about how you choose your partners. Is there something you're looking for specifically? Because money partners are very crucial to growth of business and sustainability of business. So how do you pick your partners, both on the financial side, and then also let's talk about the other, like your community partners and some of the other partnerships?
Well, first, just a caveat. We're finishing Series A, and then we're not 100% fully funded yet. So we're working on our Series B. And so what we wanted to look for in a partner is obviously, originally when we started into our fundraising campaign, our ideal partners were somebody who are looking for a steady source of supply, because we know that that will be a long-term partnership. And then as we go along, I don't know if most of you in business read the book Cash Flow Quadrant. So somebody moved from being an employee to being a self-employed to being a business owner and being an investor. So originally when we started our fundraising campaign, we were from the standpoint in the sandbox of being an entrepreneur. And then we have to have a paradigm shift on what investors are looking for. The basics. What's the return on investment? What's the payback period? Is there any collateral? How are you going to guarantee if all of the things that you're talking about didn't pan out into place? And so to answer your question in a short manner would be, we're looking for partners who are ready to be in the long game with us. Obviously, if somebody has a criteria that they wanted their money back for a year, well, that will not be the type of investor that we'll be in. We may be able to look for a partnership where we can have still a relationship if that was their criteria, if they have also the vision that they wanted to save the ocean's ecology. That's the other criteria. We just don't want their money. We wanted to be able to partner with somebody who cares about what's going to happen to the planet as well. So those are the two main criteria that we have.
And so what I hear is your partners, they have to kind of share your ideology and your values. You value that sustainability, that truly, I call it permaculture, right? We are an ever-growing population on Earth. The food source is finite at this point in time, and we need to be very good stewards. So you're looking for investors who are also interested in sustainability and the environment and in that sustainable aquaculture or agriculture space. And also those who are willing to play the long game. So I really appreciate your answer on that. And that brings me to my next question, because you have obviously partners who are looking for supply. When you look at people who are looking for the supply and you are their supplier, What are some of the things that you're looking for in addition to those high level? Are you interested in sustainable aquaculture? Are you interested in the long game? What other things are you looking for the people you partnership, for those that you're distributing to?
It's a very good question because one of the things that I really appreciate with our current partners is they are willing to talk it out. We have some, in the Far East, we call it gentleman's handshake, but probably now gentlewoman's handshake as well is applicable. Or for that matter, inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion is very big right now. But going back to your question, one of the things that I really love about our partners right now is we will have a really long conversation in terms of what would be their vision and if we can help with that and vice versa. And so right now I'm working with a marketer slash distributor wherein they're bringing in investors into our community. And so I love that because it's not just they're thinking they wanted to protect us from other people who may be able to profit or prosper for that matter. And at the same time, when someone is looking, for example, a distributor, I just recommend them to other people. For instance, last summer, there were people who wanted our product, but they don't have a trucking company. But my marketer distributor has one. So I told them, if you wanted to partner with my existing distributor, they'll be more than happy to distribute the product for you.
That makes perfect sense. And so you're really looking for people who are a true fit for what it is that you have, what you're doing, and where you're going. More importantly, it's where you're going. And so many times in business, one of the mistakes that I have seen made with our clients, because we coach several business owners, and what we see is people are partnering for now. They're not partnering for the future. They're not hiring for the future. They're hiring for the company now in its current iteration. But that does not actually normally give you the room, the runway for your growth. And so what I'm hearing is you're even approaching your partnerships for the future. Like, what is it going to look like? Where are we going so that we can grow together and have that mutual growth phase? So I really appreciate that answer. And so I'm going to ask you another question, and it's you as an entrepreneur, and you're doing business with your partner in life. So how are you able to separate the business from the personal and continue to have those conversations and have both relationships work? Because that is a very big hot button item right now in business, especially with someone who is with a W-2 and they're an entrepreneur, or they're two entrepreneurs working either with each other or in separate companies. How are you able to set aside the time for you to fill your cup so you're able to show up energized and continue to show up in your passion, your purpose, and support the vision of your company?
Very good question. And it's very, very hard. There's no magic bullet, I think, when people are working together and they're also in a personal relationship. So my husband has been into this for really quite some time now. And when I joined in 15 years ago, I thought I won't be able to make it. But at the end of the day, I think what matters is the relationship. And this is both true in business and in personal. We were just talking about this in our family this morning. We have a 13-year-old and we drop him off to school, and sometimes we'll go together. And my husband mentioned, we're going to go as a unit today, as a family. I think at the end of the day, that's what will matter most. And the same with your suppliers and your partnerships. At the end of the day, what matters most is your relationship. And you mentioned a very good point a while ago when you were talking about partnering for the future, because that was the other thing too that we're going into right now. We were thinking of rebranding, not just from a shellfish standpoint, but from a food standpoint. So when we're looking at our investors, that was part of the topic that we discussed is, are you going to be part of our roll-up strategy? Is this going to be a merger and acquisition that's based on we're going to move forward ahead, wherein we'll both win in the future?
Oh, so I just heard some key words that you said, and I want to just kind of put an exclamation point on it. What you're saying is you want to partner with people for the future, and it has to be a win-win situation, and the relationship has to win. So it has to be a win for your business, for their business, and also a win for your relationship as you move forward. And you also said something very key that I want to point out that a lot of people might have missed, and that's, are you going to be a part of our roll-up of the future? Are we going to think about a merger or acquisition, and you already have that long-term strategy? And we both know there's organic growth, there's growth through acquisition and mergers, there's a whole lot of things that go into the scalability of a business. And so you're already thinking that when you're looking into partnering with people. Are you going to be a part of that? Is there a way for both of our businesses to win and for both of us to win and our relationship to win in the future? That is so incredible. And if you are listening at home, write that down. It is super important. When we partner with people, a lot of people think negotiation is about, I'm going to go in and I'm going to win and I'm going to just strong arm somebody, but that's not how partnerships work. That's not how true success is in business. At the top, we collaborate, and it has to be a win for me, a win for you, and a win for the both of us as we move forward. So really, if we're considering that and we're considering growth of our businesses, we have to have that real how do we both win? How do we win together mentality? So thank you for bringing that up. And I'm going to ask, I'm just going to throw this out here. You're a mom, you have a 13-year-old, you are in business, you're an entrepreneur, you're in a long-term strategy that has no immediate gratification whatsoever. Your harvest on your giant clam, or your king clam rather, is 10 years. So that's a really long time to see the fruits of your labor. And you're award winning. You were a leading female in this space. How are you able to set yourself apart in such a strong way and still do all the things as mom, as wife, as all the things that you're doing? How are you able to still continue to grow and do it at such a tremendously high level?
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you. It's very tough, right? Women are known to be able to really just haggle everything. So I think it's built in our DNA as women to be able to, I guess, handle all of this. So for example, last night I have a very big argument with my 13-year-old. I mean, this is real life. This is being a human being. And we just go from there. We slept saying I love you to each other after our big fight. There will be days where my husband and I will be like really tearing each other's hair because we don't agree on everything. But at the end of the day, we go back to what we were mentioning a while ago. Love wins. And so that's very true in terms of family and relationship, but also in terms of, I think, your stamina. I think it's very important that you give yourself rest. And you know this, Jen, of all people that I know. You need to strike that balance and harmony. Like today, actually, I'm very excited that this afternoon I'm going for I don't know if everybody knows the Iceman, but I'm going for a Wim Hof retreat. And this is very good, especially for women who has their own business. You need to find a time for yourself because you're going to burn out if you don't. So at one point, 10 years ago, I started a practice. I'm a little bit remiss recently because I was so very busy with our fundraising, but I used to have what I call my night out. It's 24 hours once a month. I go somewhere else and do nothing. No phone, no husband, no kid, no work. And it's a play day wherein I just be me. And that really helped me a lot balance out.
I really love that you brought that up. So just in case you were dozing off in this last part of the segment, take care of yourself, play, have fun, fill your cup, because if we don't have a full cup, then we can't overflow into anyone else. And so before we go to break, if somebody is watching and they are not actually taking that time for themselves, that day of rest, that restoration, the things that are fun, what would your advice be to them so that they could start to put that into their habits, if you will, the daily habits for success, or their weekly plan? What would you suggest to people who are like, wow, that's me, I'm burning out, I don't have any time because I owe everything to everyone else? What would be one starting point for those people?
Well, start small. Start probably with 10 minutes, 10 minutes of breathing, 10 minutes of just doing some inner, whatever you wanted to call it, a meditation, a prayer, quiet time. I think it's very important for moms, especially, to be able to do this, to be able to have your alone time. If you can't do it a quiet time, you can go for a walk, or you can listen to music that you really like. That's one of the other things. I love music. Coming from the Philippines originally, we are such music lovers. And so when my energy is down, I will really pick a music that will crank me up. It doesn't necessarily have to be quiet. Sometimes I do love my quiet times in the morning. I'm a very early bird. And so my quiet time is actually first thing in the morning, especially if I'm able to sleep early at night. And so find 5 minutes, maybe even start with 1 minute and see how that pans out, and then build from there.
I really appreciate that answer. So find some time, whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 in your day, to have a little bit of inner quiet and inner solitude. If you need a little bit of a jazz, you all know that my favorite is to turn on my jam and dance like no one's looking. But find that small space of time in your day and interject it, and just start to build the habit of filling your cup. So if you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start small, start with a one step, just like what she said. We do have to break for just a few moments. We'll be back in after these messages.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Hello, my name is Charles Sanders, and I'm a personal injury attorney with the Rose Sanders Law Firm, based in Texas and with offices in Houston, Dallas, McAllen, and El Paso. We assist individuals throughout the entire state who have suffered harm due to the negligence of another person. With my experience as an insurance adjuster, I understand and I know exactly how to counter the strategies employed by insurance companies, and I'm bringing this knowledge to you. We handle a wide variety of situations, ranging from car accidents to defamation and unsafe property conditions. We are here to provide support and legal representation at no cost to you. Call us today at 713-221-3773.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
Hi, my name is Elias Basabe, founder of Little Maria's Cafe restaurant in West Houston, located in 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Here you will find a family-friendly and relaxed environment where you can enjoy a delicious homemade breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know you need to get to work fast, and we want you to enjoy a tasty, quality, and healthy homemade food. So come and visit us for a great, nutritious meal at an affordable price. We specialize in tasty breakfasts, deli sandwiches, fish, even barbecue cookouts. Little Maria's Cafe has it all. We only use the great quality of Boar's Head meats and products. Just like you, we love to get you up early. Little Maria's Cafe is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can dine in with us during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or we can have it ready for you for pickup. Visit us today on the first floor of the CMPC Center at 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Order now at 832-667-8376, Little Maria's Cafe.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fitch. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business coach. And if you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to nowmedia.tv, go to Power CEOs, and click on the show and catch the first segment. Why? Because we have talked all things sustainable aquaculture. It's a really interesting industry. It's a long play game. We've talked about partnerships. We've talked about relationships in business and life. We've talked about a whole lot of amazingness, and we're going to just continue that conversation. I'm here with Lourdes Gant, and we're going to talk right now, Lourdes, about raising capital, because that's something that's a part of most entrepreneurs and executives' conversations as they're looking to grow their business and to scale their business. And people seem to think that it's easy somehow to raise capital. But I know, and you know, that that is definitely not the case. So why don't we start the conversation about the challenges of raising capital? What does that look like?
So when we started in this, obviously 10 years ago, we had no product yet in the market. So that was very, very tough because most people at that time, especially, were into a lot of projects that can give returns for 1 to 2 years. So we were in a market wherein the demand for what we're offering was very, very tough because there's no revenue at that time. Well, we had it, but it was from the fishing side of things, not the aquaculture side of things. So that's the first thing. So people were asking for, okay, what are you going to do in terms of cash flow? And so that was a tough conversation. So I can really feel how startups are going to have a challenge when they don't have the revenue yet. So as some of you probably already know, there are different ways that investors value your company. So there's a discounted cash flow, there's a market. What is it? So I think the very first thing that needs to happen is have a conversation on how the two of you are going to meet in terms of what that looks like. And so that was the first thing, was if an investor comes in and they're valuing your company, another method from what you're valuing, obviously there will be a disparity in the discussion. So that's the first thing. The second thing then becomes, okay, know the criteria of what they're looking for. Is the criteria in their portfolio have they wanted to have at least 10%? Will 8% do? Somebody wanted probably 20, 30%. Obviously, if your company or your product cannot give that return, it's probably a waste of time for you. So you move on to the next person, because at the very beginning, that was one of the mistakes that we did too. We were blanketing everything for what and where we and who we were presenting it to. So be very clear that if you have all these criteria of what you wanted to see and what the investors want, that there's some at least sameness in it, because if it's different, then it's going to be a very hard conversation.
And so I'm going to ask you a little bit more deep of a question. How do you find the right investors? How do you find the right room who's interested in that long-term investment, that's there to partner with you and is along for the ride? Because a lot of every investor has their own criteria, and most investors have buckets. Like we have, okay, this is what we want to do with our short-term money, our mid-term money, and our long-term money, and this is what we expect to get. How were you able to curate that down and get in the right room? Because that is equally as important as pitching. So that's the first part of the question. And then the second part is, how did you pick yourself up after the first several no's and keep going? What did you learn from the first rejections or the first, no, I'm not going to invest with you, so that you were able to adapt and not make that same mistake again?
So we have a strategy now. Originally, I mentioned the word blanket, but we have a strategy now wherein I already know who are the people who I need to approach first. You need to have a pipeline. And at the beginning, we didn't have that. We're lucky because the product that we're offering has a very good high market demand. So we didn't really even have to look for who are the people to buy. But product selling is very different from having somebody get an equity share in your company, as you all know. And so part of the strategy that we were doing is really partner up with people who already have exposure to certain investors. One of our companies, part of the strategy that we did was have a partner who's an investment banking firm. So they already have access to some of the investors. That was one. Number two, we partner with somebody who is just riding the wave of the digital decade. So, I'm a partner in an education technology company as well. And so we are revamping the way that we are building our value cycle. So in case you don't know, the value cycle is having a follower wherein you can give value without them buying yet, who turns into a community, and then the community turns into your prospects, who becomes your customers and your raving fans. So we're building that out now because our company is very much brick and mortar. So originally we were like, okay, we're going to raise 20 million. We just want person. And then we realized as technology changed, we really needed a community wherein actually now we actually have to build this cycle, because if we can even have, let's just say 20 people with 1 million, we'll be very happy with that.
Yep. And so, we move in some of the same circles, we invest in some of the same things, and investors can be quite interesting to deal with and that's one level of adversity, right? I'm not getting the funding that I want, but that's only one type of challenge that we get in business. Talk to me about some of the real tough challenges that you've faced in this business and how you were able to overcome that adversity, because how we pick ourselves up after those failures or after those struggles and in those challenges, that's what defines our next level of success. So can you give me a couple of examples of what was a really tough challenge that you faced in this process? How were you able to move forward, move through that adversity, and rise from the ashes, so to speak?
Well, just as a disclaimer, I'm still facing some of them. It's a lifelong process, I think. But one example that I have in my mind was I was really expecting that I will have a timeline that I'm very much a planning person. So I remember in university, one of my mantra was, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I'm very much a planner. And so I have this timeline in my head that at a certain date, the investor will close. And I was expecting that we were on the same page. And then I come back from the weekend and they send me paperwork, and it was not remotely close to what I was expecting to see. And so I was very disheartened because I thought we were on the same page. And so what ended up happening is, okay, I took a deep breath, took 4 hours to be exact of breath, and then gathered my energy on, okay, how did this happen? So I have an inner conversation. I have a conversation with my partner. I have a conversation with everybody that I think would be useful. I have mentors, as you know, and this is one very good help. One of the things that I really learned in the fundraising campaign is 2 things, if I have to share this with you. Never be needy, because that just takes away all of the strong frame that you have when you're pitching, because they somehow know, the investors know if you're desperate. The second thing is that if you're able to come from a position that they're just not looking at you, you're also looking at them. So that was one thing that I keep in mind now, that so I came back to this investor saying, hang on a second, I thought we were on the same page. What did I miss? I thought that we were close to where we thought we were going to be, and you're asking me all these other questions, which I thought we already dealt with at the data room after 6 hours of excruciating questioning and investigation, and we agreed on a price. So what's happened there? So at the beginning of this journey, I probably would not be able to say that, because I've always thought I'm asking for the money. I put them on a pedestal. I think that's one thing that I've learned, is never put yourself below the investors, because you have an opportunity that you're giving them that will obviously give them value, and you're in this for the long run. So both of you should be on the same footing.
Absolutely. And what you're really talking about is the balance of power in the negotiation, right? And so what I've gleaned from this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is what you learned after the first few is you have to go and show up with confidence and be able to use the leverage that you have. You have a product that you know is going to yield a return on investment, and you are offering them an opportunity to take a piece of the upside, as opposed to coming in and saying, wow, I really need this money, and coming from that desperate space. So you've really just kind of rebalanced the power, if you will, in that conversation for your optimal negotiation, just like what we were saying before the break, for the win-win, the win for them, the win for you, the win for the relationship. So I really appreciate that example. You're absolutely right. And the other thing that is something that we were both talking about this about a month ago with one of our mentors, and that's executive presence in the pitch. And I've watched you, and I have heard you pitch a couple of times over the course of maybe a year, maybe a little bit longer than that. And the difference that I personally saw between the first time you talked about what your offering was and the pitch that you did in May was leaps and bounds of confidence. And so tell me, for those people who are maybe lacking the confidence, or maybe they are feeling like they're coming from that space of desperation or need, but they have a real unique selling proposition, they have something of value, and they know that they can deliver. How can they develop that confidence pitching to investors so that they can have that executive presence and it can exude? Because that's really the difference. If I had to pick apart the difference in your pitches, it was that you were confident that last time. You were confident in your delivery. You knew it was going to happen. You knew what it was going to look like. So what would you offer to our viewers and our listeners to bump their confidence? What are some things they can start to do so that they can have that executive presence, that confidence as they move and maybe pitch for investors or partnerships or what have you?
I believe that thank you for saying that. I always love feedback when I hear that, okay, I progressed on something. I remember I had a life coach who said, what's the definition of success is knowing that you're progressing from the goal that you've established. And number two is you are moving towards that. And so one of the things that I remember, and I always now put this in my journal every day, would be grateful for who you're meeting every day. And even if that person is not the person that you thought will be putting in the money, for whatever reason, they did say before 6 degrees of separation. With technology now and social media, I think it's only 2 degrees of separation. I always talk to people. I love people coming from the Philippines. This is just one thing that was part of my culture. I'm in Canada now, but I think I have never forgotten that. Give people a chance. And you know that if you've done your best, part of the confidence would be, again, going back to my 3 pillars. Number 1 pillar is leadership, wherein you know you're doing the right thing even though no one's watching. That would be one thing that I will have to say. If there's one thing that you can take away from this conversation, it would be that. And from a practical standpoint, you just have to pitch all the time. So, I had a coach before that always say, it's not about practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes it perfect. And I'm having a hard time before with that, because one of the things that we did in May, as you mentioned, was what was it now? For every one slide is 1 hour of practice. And I had a tough time when I heard that, but I used to have a tendency before of winging it, and winging it for pitching just doesn't work.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think it was for every minute of presentation that you practice for an hour. And it's so true, because if you do that, practice gives you the confidence to show up. And so that confidence is exuded because you know your material backwards and forwards. So to me, it's the preparation and the practice. You said perfect practice makes perfect. That's absolutely right. If we're practicing imperfectly. And so for an action step, I guess, if you're watching or listening and you have to pitch, everybody has to pitch. If you're in business, you have to sell. Whether you're selling your product or your service, or you're selling to investors to invest in your company for growth or what have you, or you're selling somebody across the table to acquire their company, you always have to sell in business. And every conversation is a sales conversation, no matter what. Somebody's buying, somebody's selling. But the more preparation you have and the more practice you have, the more confidence you have in the delivery. So I think that's a real solid point that you brought. And that's it for you at home. That's an action step, I think, that everybody can take away. If there's something that you're stuck on, and especially in sales, because sales is business. If we don't have money coming into our business, we don't have the lifeblood of our business, and our business ultimately will fall. But preparation, know what you're going to say, and practice, 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 practice. And I think, Lord, is something else that we talk about a lot is video your practice and then go back and look at it, because so many times we're practicing to other people and we're relying upon their feedback. But when you put that camera in front of you and you actually look at how your presentation is going and you look at the things that you're doing, maybe your nervous tics, maybe there's some things that you do in your mannerisms, you're able to focus on that, and that focused practice to get rid of the nervous habits is really what separates, the proverbial men from the boys, or the ladies from the girls, right? It's how we're able to move through those nervous tics, those nervous habits, that allows us to present with more confidence. And you definitely have done that. It's been phenomenal. And so let's shift the conversation just a little bit, because now you appear in a lot of, you're always in the media, you're on podcasts, you're in the news, you've won awards. What has shifted for you internally? I want to talk about the inner game and how you were able to develop your inner game, because what we see as the result is that you're award winning, you're showing up, you're raising your capital, your business is doing well and it's growing. But a lot of inner work, and you mentioned this in the first segment, so I want to tap into this. What is the inner work that you would attribute to the trajectory? Because you were kind of going along and then you really had this big uptick. So what was it in your inner work that allowed that inflection point so that you could grow more rapidly? And how can those that are watching or listening take an action and get that inflection point for themselves?
It's a really great journey, Jen, just to be honest with you and everybody here. I used to think that coming from a third world country, I was always doing hard work. I was always being an achiever. And at the beginning of my career, I was always focusing on that external motivation. At the end of a school year, I will always have either a medal, something, an award. And that was very externally focused. And then in my journey, I found out, okay, if I'm only going to be externally focused, when that external motivation go away, then I will be deflated. So I went into this journey wherein, okay, what if the external award is just the reward itself for doing the journey? And so I went in through this whole identity crisis mode. This is probably 6 years ago now, wherein I was going to change my name. I didn't even wanted my name. I thought in my head I was a white person, and talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion now, I was shying away from the culture where I came from, and how harsh that was with what I treated myself with. We were talking about, taking a break, having to have confidence, but this all boils down to self-love, self-worth. If you find that you're always wanting to punish yourself, or if you're feeling like you just get your value because of other people's approval, it's going to be really tough for the ride. And so this has been an ongoing journey for me, and it's still continuing. So if there's one thing I can share in terms of inner work, it would be find what makes you love yourself, because that's a very important component in an entrepreneur's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, because if we are not happy with ourselves and we can't love ourselves and accept ourselves for who we are and use our authentic voice, then how can we expect others to do business with us, right? We can't expect someone to love us more than we love ourselves, for example, in a romantic relationship. So the same applies in every area of life. So I love that. And I want to drill down into a point that you made, and you said it in a different way, but along the lines of, you came from a different culture, you didn't see the value that you could bring to other people. But what we have learned in business, and we've been in some groups for quite some time now together, but what we have learned is it is exactly that diversity, it is exactly those other perspectives that truly help us to learn and grow. And so by toning it down and not using our voice and sharing our unique perspective from our experience, we might actually be detrimental to the conversation at hand or the negotiation at hand. We might not be bringing every perspective or solving the problem in the absolute best way if we're tamping down some of the things that we've learned or experienced in our different experiences. So I think that's a very key concept that you brought up. And I want to ask you, because you are, obviously you're a female, you have moved, you've experienced other cultures, and you're moving in ever-growing spaces. how are you able to continue to elevate that inner game so that you can continue to use your authentic voice? Because I know for myself, I'm just going to speak for myself now. Every time I get in that next room where I'm like, oh, these people are way more successful than me. They're way more, they've done so much more in the world. They've had such a bigger impact. I have a tendency to watch and observe before I speak because of that same thing. It's the same inner game and the same pattern that I've already done the inner work on. But now that I'm in the next room, it's kind of like it comes up, it resurfaces, and I have to do another, like, it's like peeling an onion. It's the next level of that same inner work. Do you experience that? And if you do, what is the way that you are able to move forward through that real-time in a room when you find that maybe you're pitching to the next level of investors and you're not really quite certain that this is your room, and you feel like you've got more to learn from the people in the room than you have to share with them?
So I really learned this because I also have, as you know, I have a lot of mentors and different spaces of mentors. Like I have my life coach, I have my business coach, you name it. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to. But one thing that I really love in terms of going next level is there will always be next level, and being able to say that, okay, it's fine to be nervous. It's fine to be, not confident, but I'm going to work through that. I think that's one thing, if I have to share, is one of my values is love of learning, and Kaizen is one of my habits, continuous improvement. And so that has been a part of my lifestyle, wherein I'm just always never going to stop learning or going to stop to improve. If I find that I'm in a room and I'm not confident enough, I'm going to find a common ground how to be able to learn from other people I'm seeing who's confident enough to say, okay, I can shake hands, for example, with a billionaire, or I can shake hands with somebody who's a celebrity without cracking. And then the next time I meet this person, we're talking about practice. So I'm just going to have to practice in front of the mirror, in front of a camera, and next time I'll do better.
That's fantastic. I love it. And I really feel that you're loving the journey. You're really embracing the journey and the growth. And I have a profound appreciation for this. Unfortunately, we are drawing towards the end of our episode. So if people would like to get in touch with you, if they would like to learn more about maybe being a female in business, or about aquaculture or sustainability, because that's really a buzzword right now, and everybody's kind of looking at that from an environmental standpoint, and you are one of the most influential women in business in this regard, how would you like them to reach out to you?
Go to our website, www.sustainableaquaculture.ca, or my personal site, lourdesgant.com. And I'm very, very active on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TikTok even.
Thank you so much for all of your time and your expertise today. It has been absolutely phenomenal speaking with you. I really appreciate everything that you've brought today and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, I am talking to you. I am talking to you today. You heard so many amazing gems and nuggets of information from our guest today. But really, knowledge is just a small part of the equation. The implementation is where the magic happens. So if it is the practice, if you heard that, oh, I am having a little bit of a challenge with sales, or I'm a little nervous going into the next room to pitch or to raise capital, maybe your action step is to spend an hour for every minute of your presentation practicing what it is that you want to present so that you can come forth with confidence. But regardless, whatever action step you heard, whether it's take your 5 minutes of self-care a day so you can fill your cup and get out of burnout, or whether it was your practice, choose to do that today, not tomorrow, not next week, because we'll forget about it. Let's put that into action today so we can start to shift the needle. We can start to shift the momentum and really grow yourself as a human being in business, and also as your entrepreneur, so that your business can grow and flourish. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we'll be here the same time, same station next week. So until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Now Media Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
Bienvenidos a Interio Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interio, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interio, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Interio, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
Hey, this is Michael Rager, the host of Biz Talk TV with Michael Rager. Make sure you join us every day, 5 p.m. Central Time, on all Now Media channels and social media platforms.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Así debe de ser, siempre sencillo, las cuestiones de economía, finanzas y negocios explicados con peras y manzanas en torno al dinero, lunes a viernes, 10 de la mañana. Now Media, ahí nos vemos.
Le invita a su servidor Javier Solórzano a que todas las noches en Heraldo Televisión esté con nosotros entre las 21 horas y las 22 horas del centro en Referente. Estamos informando, tratando de que usted tenga todas las piezas de este rompecabezas informativo cotidiano a través de Referente. Lo esperamos, Heraldo Televisión, Referente, 21 a 22 horas. Javier Solórzano.
República H, con Sofía García.
Una república que necesita saber cuál es el camino correcto. En República H te diremos qué pasa en cada rincón del país. ¿Qué pasa en tu estado? ¿Qué hace tu gobernador, presidente municipal o alcalde en materia de seguridad, salud, desarrollo, economía o servicios básicos para atender a su población? Tenemos desplegados más de 70 corresponsales en todo el país y más allá de las fronteras. República H, de lunes a viernes a las 8 de la noche por Heraldo Televisión.
¿Sueñas con vender tus productos o servicios en Estados Unidos? Pareciera muy difícil, mas no es imposible. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años de experiencia promoviendo productos latinoamericanos en el principal mercado del mundo. Si quieres aprender más, sígueme en todas mis redes sociales.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con